Welcome to the Last Week This Week review of the finale of The Last of Us Season 2. I'm Ian Scott.
And I'm Zack Huber.
And yeah, we're going to go through, I think, the finale and maybe a little bit of episode 6 since we missed that last week. Go through some non-spoilers, go through some spoilers. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this week and last week.
Yeah. All right. So I guess starting with the episode 6.
Yeah, we can both give our episode 6 thoughts and then episode 7, I guess.
Okay. Kind of with the episode 6 flashback episode. From what I understand, these were kind of flashbacks that had kind of were kind of occurred as you're playing the game, like not all kind of lumped together. Right. Yep. And I understand why they did it this way. I know that there's so many people with so many opinions about how funny. This was a bad idea, or even if the people who thought that putting all of the flashbacks together was a good idea at the end of the day. This is why it was not good enough. It's
worse than the game.
Or it's worse than the game.
I read that review you sent me, by the way.
Oh, okay,
I totally agree. That review pissed me off because it was just like there wasn't any analysis about like the actual show. It was just comparing it to the game over and over and over again.
Right. And the review that I sent Ian there was a Discussing Film review. And like shout out Discussing Film because I
love these guys.
They're great. I think that a lot of the reviews that I read that they do, at least in regards to The Last of Us, I
just disagree.
Was like, you're upset that it, like when it deviates from the game, it's upsetting, but then you say that the best parts, it's shot for shot. It's like just leaning on the game too much.
Right. And you're like, well, what's the point?
Well, what do you want? So anyways,
right.
As somebody who hasn't played the game, I really loved that episode.
Same here.
And I got really choked up at the end.
Yeah.
So when I saw criticism about it, I understand that people have an attachment to that game, but at the same time, it's very strange because I know a lot of people who
actually hate the game,
that game, and I can't tell if there's any overlap. It's not as good as the game, but I never even liked the game to begin with. I don't think
there. I think it's two separate bases in my head, at least.
I've not seen this much discourse over everything about a show in a minute. It kind of drives me crazy, but I really liked it. I really liked it.
Agreed.
I don't know if we want to have
we can get into spoiler stuff.
Well, but I don't know if you want to do 6 and 7 thoughts or just 6, episode 6 thoughts first.
Yeah, let me say my 6 thoughts. Okay. I guess what I really loved, and it's just very minor spoilers for episode 6 if you haven't seen it, is just I agree, maybe it could have been cool to have it spread throughout the game, but I think having it right, just like in the game, but in the show. But I think what was so cool was seeing this full on progression. I think what was great was that the last thing you saw in episode 5 was Ellie was yeah, I know what Joel did, and I'm still gonna fuck you up anyways. And you're like, oh, she full on knows, or is she assuming, or just what's kind of the deal there, right? And you have this really pivotal turning point for her, and then you go back to the start, right? And you see this really great progression of
the 1 year later sort of thing.
Right. On each of Ellie's birthdays, and each time you can see the first, I think the 16th birthday, where she is starting to have a hint of something's on my mind and I don't know how to address it yet. And then 17, she gets, kind of all into her teenage years and gets a tattoo and all that crap. And where it finally boils to the Eugene plot in the woods. And which I thought was such a great like new addition to the story.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
Apparently, like those two like Eugene and his wife didn't exist in the game, and I love that scene with Eugene. I don't know if you remember the actor who played Eugene.
Yeah, he's the snitch and the mole in The Matrix.
Yeah. He's played a couple of other roles that are
he did.
too,
But I was telling friends of mine that when we were watching The Matrix, recently that Bill Burr is kind of the now new generation of him.
For sure.
It feels like.
I can see that.
Not just because they're both like bald. They just have this like similar
like voice,
Bostonian
almost.
kind of and in like attitude as well. It's like very like comedic, but also like kind of serious at the same time.
For sure. I'm not finding the other movie he did that I remember. But
well, I would also like to add before we get into spoilers that to people who are like if they have a problem with all of the cutscenes all put together, I'd like to add that in terms of a show and how you plan out episodes, it's a lot different than a game.
Absolutely.
Where the game, you know, I don't know exactly how it runs in the game, but you're constantly moving throughout it and in one perspective the whole time. And there's not that you can't have obvious switches to a flashback, but it could also potentially derail an entire episode and like not you might not be able to you may it might be changing the vibe like too much depending on how you do it. So to me, the idea of having a full-on flashback heavy episode, especially with the added like 1 year later kind of way of how they were progressing it and it focusing solely on the birthdays.
It was
really
like
smart.
They made it a perfect narrative all in one episode, and they did it by adding that Eugene plot, you know, bringing it all to a head and making it kind of go back to where it started for Ellie, right? But yeah, real quick, the other role I was thinking of with that guy was Ralphie from Sopranos. If you ever watched Sopranos,
yeah,
amazing villain, and probably like an all-time Sopranos villain. But yeah, so I love that episode. I know like the very final scene, and this is spoilers at this point, is at you know, when Joel and Ellie are like on the porch talking and like kind of going into it all. Like I know that is used like later down the line to like bring a theme home, right?
Right.
So like hopefully they just use it again and just kind of like have Ellie think of that moment, or like I don't know.
The thing is that it feels like because of the way that they've introduced key information that characters are aware of, and that the audience is aware of this early on, it makes me believe that there will be somewhat significant changes to
the narrative structure,
to how that like there will be changes as to like why characters decide to do certain things. I could be wrong, but it feels like they've introduced a lot that players don't even really know about until much later on.
Right.
So or maybe it won't change anything. I don't know. I mean, in the game, like I guess Ellie already knows all of that stuff to begin with, and you, the audience, just finds out at that moment, why they decide to do what they do.
Yeah. So it's not like it's just a different like reveal structure for the audience.
But it makes me feel like maybe they will cut back to it. I don't know. I mean, there was word that, you know, characters who are dead aren't, you know, we're not seeing the last of them.
Sure, but like, you know, in flashback sequences, maybe in like Ellie's head sequences, I don't know. But like the players are like characters are staying dead.
I really don't want them to do a Joel like hey kid, while you're still alive,
I would have no problem with it at all.
I would not like it. I'm a little tired of that.
Sure. I guess, I get
it. The porch scene was really great, and in a weird way, her saying like, I don't think I'll be able to forgive you, but I want to try.
Yeah, that was
and
really
then
nice.
Cutting to her like beating the shit out of this woman who was okay with Joel dying is like it feels like that's her way of trying to figure out why she would forgive him, because she's learning like what he was doing
was like fully out of love and protection,
Yeah.
And I think she's doing the same thing. And yeah, she is grappling with that. And I think like in a sense, she feels guilty for how she treated Joel for so long, and now she's doing the exact same thing. Right. And I think in a sense, she's even like letting all her like frustrations out on that woman to just kind of release. But, obviously in the finale, she grapples with some even more stuff. Right. Makes her think about some more. So we can go into the finale if you want. But I loved episode 6, to be honest.
Yeah, I loved episode 6. I love the addition of Joel as a kid.
Yeah. And
the swordsman being his
Jack
dad.
Dukens. Yeah, or whatever his name is.
So that was really great. And then going into the finale, lots of time with Jesse, which was really nice.
I loved that about this episode. Like I genuinely, like every time Jesse and Ellie were like beefing, I was really into it. And I was mostly on Jesse's side whenever they were I truly do think that like, yes, even though like I totally understand why this feels necessary for Ellie to do, but like she has been selfish along the way. And I think what Jesse's point of view is like just makes total sense for his role in the community, for being a part of Jackson. And he just seemed like the more mature figure that I wanted to follow for a while in this episode.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would say that all of his reasonings are sound, and like
absolutely.
I think that Ellie is too focused on this idea of revenge, but at the same time, for both of those characters, they're like it. You can understand both why they would like both reasons for what they want to do, and I would say that even like when you get to the point where she has to choose between going to get Abby and going to save Tommy, that he kind of understands.
That's the first point where he's like, all right, I'll do me and you do you, and we'll see how it goes.
Which is unfortunate because of course you would want to save your like, almost uncle.
That bothered me too. Like there was that moment where I'm like, Ellie could save someone who's alive and loves already, right? Or she could maybe get revenge on Abby. Obviously she's not there, and so she doesn't get to take revenge. And the other moment that like made me realize kind of her selfishness was in the beginning. I just was stupid and didn't realize, but like I couldn't believe that it took her this long to like tell Dina about all of it, Right. And I'm like, you dragged her hundreds of miles to Seattle, and even when she told you she was pregnant, you didn't even come out and say that then. And so like for you to keep dragging her through it when she doesn't know the full story, I think was incredibly selfish.
Yeah, I mean, no, she's definitely very selfish. I mean, like, and it leads to some pretty, like, I know in the after show, like, Craig or Neil Druckmann was like saying, like, these are big wake up calls that she's ignoring.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, like and so like everything with Jesse was really like they're going to find Tommy, and they kind of decide like Tommy should be in this direction. Well, I'm going to go in this direction.
Yeah.
And we also kind of have this side story of, you know, Isaac being like, Abby was the chosen one. Which Abby was meant to
yeah. I was like, I didn't realize that was going to tie together either. You know, I honestly thought those were kind of two separate stories. I knew they would like I knew Isaac would come in contact maybe with Ellie at some point, but
right. But like, you know, it kind of played into the episode, albeit this is probably like this part of the episode was like probably the weakest part of the episode, which was like she's, you know, gonna impulsively start to shoot these guys at the docks. Thankfully, she doesn't.
That would have been. Are you kidding me? Like the most impulsive thing ever. And then like 50 guys were allowed. And you're like, Ellie, did you scope this place out at all?
Right.
Like, that would have been such a bad move.
You know, so like they're off to war, obviously. At least
and then the next thing though.
Well, she gets into this boat.
Right.
This one, you know, hand-powered kind of motorboat, and in terrible weather, which is bad enough, but she gets knocked out with this big wave that comes up as she's, you know, going towards the marina. And I would say
this to me was the weakest part of the episode.
Right. So from what I understand, there was a part of the video game that they were like gonna have Ellie visit Scar Island for like a little side quest sort of thing.
Okay.
But they never ended up doing it. So I guess
this was Scar Island, basically?
Yeah, they were like, we just wanted to like kind of be able to, it was nice that we were able to like just kind of like do that sort of, which
barely.
Maybe they'll go back to it at some point. Like I feel like with the third season, they'll definitely like show more of that island.
Sure.
And like they'll show like the war stuff that happens when when she sees all the she's, you know, going back to the marina.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, all she does there is get captured, almost get hung, and then they let her go because they hear something going on. And then she gets back in a motorboat and sails off. And I'm like,
yeah, and like I get that it was like I guess that I get that they were trying to show basically like this is where those guys were off to, and they blew up this thing. But like I think you could have done that a number of ways. You know,
well, we saw it like,
as
later
she gets
on
into the marina. You see that it blows up. So that was the weakest part. I like you really didn't need any of that.
Like during, I was like, what was the point of that?
I guess like part of it was they're showing that like even this child is like inundated with violence at such a young age.
Sure.
And I was like, it's fine.
Like, whatever. Yeah.
It was. You know, you can just kind of go on your phone for all of that because you kind of
it doesn't matter at all.
You're not because like the next thing you're just back on the seas.
Yeah,
and
right.
But you get to the marina,
to the water wheel,
the water wheel, and you know she thinks that she's following the footsteps of Abby, and then you end up with Sean or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, two of the five people who were there to kill Joel.
Well, that girl wasn't. Well, that girl.
Oh, she wasn't there.
I don't think. No, that girl wasn't there. I don't think she was like completely, just a person in the WLF or who knows. But like, and that goes down as bad as it could possibly go down.
I mean, you can't blame Abby. I mean, not Abby. You can't blame Ellie for it. And it's like
you kind of can,
sure,
because you just
you can blame her for all the actions like that make her go there, but like once the guy turns the gun on her, like she has to self defend.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree, but and like as bad as it was that she's pregnant and the parallel to like Dina, it was the. Like I know how to do a cesarean section. So you you should do this, and then Ellie either without the skills to or without wanting to.
No, she definitely wanted to help. She just had no idea what to do. I mean, she like, so the first thing was like make an incision like at some random medical like, you know, like dialogue, and you're like, what the hell is that? Where do I cut in without killing you and the baby at the same time? So go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just interesting because like I think she probably wanted to help. I think she did.
She definitely did. She regretted it immediately.
Like she didn't even try, though. You know, so it's just
because she didn't know where to start. I mean,
either way,
I can't blame Ellie.
Either way, that baby could die.
Nah, for sure, for sure. So I guess you're like, well, I'll just cut in somewhere and hopefully, I feel you.
So it's just, but it was all of that. All of that was just terrible and
really excruciatingly awful scene for sure. And it's another wake up call for Ellie saying,
right.
And basically once she gets back to the theater after Tommy and Jesse save her, she's like, yeah, I think she still like at the back of her mind wants that revenge, but like she knows everything she's kind of been doing has been fucked up, and that really fucked her up. And she's like, well, this is it. And Jesse and her have a really nice last moment where Jesse's like, yeah, I'd do anything to save you, and I know you would too. So
right. Mm-hmm.
And then this really fucked me up, man. I was not expecting it. And you know, they hear something outside of the theater and they go like bursting, running through the door. Immediately Jesse gets shot in the head. And you're like, oh my God. And Tommy's on the ground. You don't know what state he's in. You don't know where Dina is. And this was a tad weak for me, the ending, but like I really liked the confrontation with Abby and Ellie, but it was the cut that was so like jarring at the end where she's like, no. You know, like I don't know. It was an interesting choice. But
well, now everybody thinks that, like everybody that I've talked to that's watched it thinks that she gets shot.
I don't think so.
Maybe she does, but
I think somebody shoots. Like I think it's either Tommy or it's Dina or like somebody else shoots. You know?
Yeah. Like there's no way that they kill Ellie unless they do, right, which would be crazy. But I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I just like you hear a gunshot, but you never see her gun go off. So that
right, which is like to me pretty self-evident that
something else is happening.
Something else has happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Or she shoots and like intentionally misses. I don't know.
Excuse me. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess she could miss, but Abby's a pretty skilled. She's gonna take over the WLF. So.
I said intentionally misses.
Intentionally miss. Why would she though? You know, after just straight up killing Jesse, you know, like I don't know if she intentionally misses anybody at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was heartbreaking. I didn't know Jesse died actually, so I was like truly shocked. And I really wanted to see his character go on, but rip Jesse. And I hope that's not the last time we see him. They hinted at more people coming back.
Yeah,
maybe some flashbacks with Jesse. I don't know, but that's a heartbreaking story to end. For season 2.
Yeah, and then you basically see that we go back to day 1 of Seattle, and it's Abby, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, like her story. That's like I think you follow her story first after like the events of Joel dying. Like
correct. After Joel dies, you start to play as Abby.
Right. So for me, like again, like if people wanted to like follow the game, you know, more faithfully, the idea of like I can't imagine like how audiences would react if you're like, oh, so we're just gonna follow the person who just killed our supposed lead co-lead, and we're just gonna follow the murderer this whole time, you know? Like
I think that's it. I think that, you know, and not to like shit on TV audiences, but I don't know if a TV audience would have the patience to follow Abby this early on.
Well, especially because in a game, you're forced to, like, if you want to find out what happens, and if you want to get back to Ellie and see how she's doing, you have to play as this character. You have to. Whereas, like, a TV audience, you're like, well, I'm not invested in this story now.
Yeah, now that Jill's dead, and now that we're not even following Ellie, like who,
and I'm not like the killer physically. I'm not propulsing like the story forward myself.
Right.
I'm just passively watching something, and like how many times do you like see something and you go, I'm kind of tired of, I don't really care.
Plus,
and then
like,
you just don't
you
don't follow it.
Imagine if we didn't even get like the beginning of that first episode, like explaining who Abby is and why she wants Jill dead.
Right.
We're just following the killer. Like that's all we would know.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think it would have been smart for the TV show, ratings wise or narrative wise. But I think it makes sense now. And so it seems like we're just gonna be following Abby in this next season for like the next like day 1, day 2, day 3. Because I think Ellie and Dina like were just in day 3, the last episode we saw.
They were.
So, yeah.
And like
which is a lot of episodes for 3 days.
They might, but I feel like
because they start off on day 1, right?
Yeah. And they might, but I have a feeling that it might be more of all 3 days get kind of like bankrolled into either 1 or maybe 2 episodes. But if they do all 3, I mean, that's pretty ballsy.
I think my thought is that then like all of next season will be Abby. Maybe they do it differently, but I think that would be cool to kind of like follow each of their journeys kind of for the same amount of time. And then we go to season 4 and it's like, 2 heads coming to a clash, right?
But the thing is that supposes that like, because Ellie and Dina were in Seattle from episode like 3 or 4. I think it was 4, maybe. I think that's when day 1 started. I think was 4.
Episode 4 was basically the start of day 1. Like at the end of episode 3. So
you had 4, then 5, flashback episode was 6, and then it was day 3. So
3 episodes really for.
That's why I'm saying like I don't think that it's only just going to be Abby for the 3rd season. I think
maybe they'll go more into
just
like
3 episodes or less.
But maybe they elongate it by adding like more of Isaac and the Scars like conflict, and
you're gonna stretch out 3 days over a whole season.
It's only 7 episodes now. It's not like I feel like crazy.
Even
if they wanted to, they could shorten it to 6. Not that I want them to, but
I don't know. I feel like it would be pretty ballsy to be like, just focus on her for a whole season.
Yeah, I agree. Like, to just ditch like Bella Ramsey and the crew that we've been following would be wild. Would be fully wild. But I wouldn't be upset if they did it. I think it'd be a cool direction to go.
I might be a little upset.
You need your Ellie.
I mean, I think that my idea of Abby, I'm already slightly sympathetic towards her, but I think it'll be like it'll be even greater. Like no doubt. I'm sure that the flip will be script. The script will be flipped. There you go. The flip will be script. Just like how Sophia Falcone was like completely flipped in The Penguin, and you're like, damn, she got wrong.
She got fucked over. Yeah, she did. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm assuming this will come out the same time next year. But it's what's funny
I
is
hope
that
so, because I mean I don't want to have to wait another 2 years.
No, well, was 2 years between these 2 seasons? No. What? Oh my god.
Fairly certain.
That's crazy. I thought The Last of Us season 1
came out in like
last
December or January. It came out in January of like 2023.
You said it January of 2020? Oh my god. That's insane. It had to have been because of the strikes, right? I mean,
I can't remember.
That's ridiculous. That's over 2 years.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we better not have to wait another 2 years. That'd drive me insane. But yeah, overall, good season. I can't say it was better than first season, but I still really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I can't say that it was better, but
No.
there were some episodes that were all-time best. And
that second episode, man.
Second episode, I would say sixth episode.
Agreed. Yep.
And I would say that they're some of the best suspense and action scenes that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, we had some really great clicker scenes. So,
and I think part of the reason that it's not as good as the first is like just because the first was spread over such a long amount of time.
Yeah,
there was a lot of things that happened, and in this season, it was like very short, narrow point of time, and I don't know. Yeah,
I think for me though is that it's like it's not as like a complete story as the first season was.
Yeah, and
like you could watch the first season and then never watch it again, and you'd be like, all right, that was a great show.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And also, like, it's that relationship. There wasn't any sort of relationship building like there was with
Ellie and Dina.
Ellie. But it's not this. They're not having the same sort of journey that
It was
Joel
a romance instead of a father-daughter.
But even then, like there wasn't even as much like focusing on just the two of them.
Sure.
In their relation to each other as much.
That's fair.
At least that's what I think.
No, I agree. But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on The Last of Us finale and episode 6 and the whole season. So thank you guys for watching the whole series. If you made it this far of our reviews of the season, and if you want to catch more reviews, we release these weekly. So thank you guys.
Thank you.